Kindly mute your microphone to ensure the smoothness of this program. You are encouraged to turn on your camera during the session. You are also advised to wear a appropriate outfit as there will be a photography session at the end of this program. The event will start shortly. Thank you.
Kamera batang plus lagi. Yang bagi aku.
arrival another speaker. We seek for your kind understanding. Thank you.
Wanita Merdeka, Islamic Feminism, Truth or Facade? I don't know about, I actually don't know about Islamic feminism. But why, sister, you are late?
There will be a little delay as we are waiting the arrival for another speaker. We seek for your kind understanding. Thank you. announcing the arrival of moderator Sister Nur Hafizah binti Ms. Zairi, Officer of Islamization and Student Development IIUM Student Union 2021. Fellow speakers, Assistant Professor Dr. Hasbullah bin Mohamad from Kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, International Islamic University Malaysia IIUM, and Association Professor Dr. Rafidah Hanim binti Mokhtar, President of the International Women's Alliance for Family and Quality Education WAFIC. Welcome to both great speakers in today's webinar. Next, I would like to announce the arrival of our guest of honor, Professor Dr. Samsul bin Rahman, Deputy Campus Director Academic Support Services, IIUM Kuantan. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's begin our session with Umul Kitab, Al-Fatihah. Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good evening. A warm welcome I bid to Professor Dr. Samsul bin Rahman, Deputy Campus Director Academic Support Services, IIUM Kuantan, Assistant Professor Dr. Normah binti Harun, Principal of Mahala Fatimah Az-Zahra of IIUM Kuantan, Assistant Professor Dr. Intan Azura binti Syahdan, Principal of Mahalah Ummu Kaltum of IIUM Kuantan, lecturer and fellows from IIUM Kuantan campus, distinguished speakers and moderator, collaborator from the International Women's Alliance for Family and Quality Education, WAFIC, program manager, organizing committees, and dearest participant nationwide. Welcome to the opening ceremony of WANITA MERDEKA CAMPAIGN Wamec and its first sub-program, Webinar 1.0, Islamic Feminism, Suite of Facade. My name is Nur Alia Batrisha, and I am delighted to be your master of ceremony for tonight's event. Dear audience, to gain blessing from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, let us commence this event with the recitation of dua by Brother Luqman Hakim. Please welcome.
إلى هدى المصطفى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كرام الفاتحة. نعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا ووالدينا وارحمهما كما ربيانا صغيرا. جميع المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, I express our gratitude to you for allowing us to attend this open ceremony and webinar 1.0 of Wanita Merdeka Campaign on this night. Ya Allah, we ask you for safety of our religion and the welfare of our body. Oh Allah, Lord of implementing authority, make the days that we've gone through, starting with your mercy, continue with your blessing, and ended with your forgiveness. And also, make the days that we've gone through with guidance, and end with the victory excellence. Ya Allah, let our effort as a means to enlighten and convince ourselves that the personal safety of either outer or inner is a prerequisite for achieving happiness and excellence in various fields. Oh Allah, grant us faith and strength in order to face the challenges of life during the transition periods and the phase of life in this new millennium. ربنا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا اغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكن من الخاسرين ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin, amin, ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you, Brother Luqman Hakim. Dear audience, with the goal to instill the true spirit and sense of Wanita Merdeka based on Islamic teaching, we are proud to bring you a national program, Wanita Merdeka Campaign, WAMEC. For your information, It is a joint program between block representative committees of Mahalah Fatimah Az-Zahra IIUM Kuantan together with Imaratul Masjid, Mahalah Kaltum representative committees, and the International Women's Alliance for Family and Quality Education WAFIC. Wamec consists of 5 sub-programs which will last for about 1 month until 4th September 2021. And today, the campaign will start with its first sub-program, Webinar 1.0 Islamic Feminism, Truth or Facade. Therefore, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Samsul, Deputy Campus Director, Academic Support Services, IIUM Kuantan, to officiate tonight's event. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Sister Chairperson. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Very good evening to our beloved principal, Dr. Norma, Dr. Intan. They are very hardworking. Our lecturers, staff, and particularly our distinguished and renowned speaker, Ustaz Hasbullah, and my close friend, Prof. Dr. Rafidah Hanim from USIM, the organizing committee, and ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. First and foremost, thank you to the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity to give a welcoming remark to this very important campaign. But when I saw the brochure, I feel a little bit uncomfortable, even a little bit embarrassment, because what happened to our brothers and what happened to our men? By right, this one should be Merdeka campaign rather than Wanita Merdeka campaign. Maybe this is our mistake. Maybe our brothers very busy with Palestine, with Kashmir issue. Brothers and sisters, when we talk about Merdeka, there are so many definitions, there are so many perspectives. Some people maybe think Merdeka from British, from the invader. A few people will say Merdeka from Shaitan. And if you ask me, maybe Merdeka from LGBT, from one bad desire. But I think for sister and particularly about this campaign, especially to our student, what I'm concerned is a few, not many, just a few of our sister when they finish study, they are really practice Merdeka. They Merdeka in terms of their tudung suddenly disappear. So this is very, to me, is very quite a sad situation, because when you come from the National Islamic University, by right, that dress code must be intact and must be preserved forever. You shouldn't be Merdeka from that dress code. You should make it preserve and make it that dress code as much as intact as possible. And brothers and sisters, we are still not Merdeka from COVID. COVID is another issue that we need to think of. And for your information, when we have COVID, there are another issue arise. Malaysia, during the MCO, we are number 4. We were number 4 in terms of visiting Pornhub website. That one during COVID. Before COVID, we were number 19. Despite number 19, our teenagers visited the Pornhub website about 20,000 search daily. Can you imagine? And they noticed about 28,671 teenagers, our teenagers addicted to pornography. So that means we are not Merdeka yet. And as you can see here, our recent very sad situation, sad story. As you know that our woman is very important asset. And recently we have one woman pass away As you know that our Siti Sarah, the whole country was shocked and surprised because of this lady. So that means Siti Sarah, our woman, has contributed a lot to this country. So we really hope this campaign will produce more and more Siti Sarah. Maybe Siti Hajar, Siti Khatijah, if possible, hopefully. And we want the real woman. We want the real woman, not the artificial woman. Lately, we have quite a number artificial women. So far, the data about 15,000. And this, as you know, this artificial woman is trapped in their male body. So they are not merdeka yet. That's why, brothers and sisters, we really hope this campaign will give a lot of insight and impactful to our sister. We really hope. Because this campaign, by right, we should have face-to-face, but when we do online, there is a lot of pro and cons. That's why we really hope we'll give some meaningful to our audience. So, brother and sister, without further ado, let us together we officiate this Wanita campaign, Wanita Merdeka campaign. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, with that, I thanks to the organizing committee again. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So back to you, MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Samsul, for the delightful speech. Dear audience, before we proceed with the forum session, let us watch the promotional video of Wamec. Make sure to turn on your audio with high volume to get a better effect.
Selepas hijrah, it's more about staying istiqamah. That is a challenge all of us face.
Thank you, committees. To all participants, do come and join us for the next sub-program, which will start tomorrow. Care to share public speaking contest and kitchen warrior cooking video competition. You may also follow our social media for future updates. Now, let us watch another short video regarding our topic tonight, Islamic Feminism, from ML Studio to help you understand more about tonight's program. Please welcome.
So recently there's a huge outcry of discussion in regards to Islam and feminism, especially in ML Studio. This discussion triggers me because there's someone in the comment, or there's basically a lot of people that believes that Prophet Mohamad was actually the first feminist and believe that Islam is actually a feminist religion. This is entirely untrue. I'll tell you why it doesn't make sense to say that there is an Islamic version of feminism. So firstly, Islam and women is a very controversial topic because it's easy for you to cherry pick certain conditions of women in certain Islamic countries and say, hey, that's Islam. People can go to South Sudan and see how South Sudan governs women and say that's Islam. You can go to Saudi Arabia and say how that is Islam. So Islamic interpretation and understanding of Islam to women varies based on different types of countries. But there are general consensus within the scripture and within the sunnah that we can understand that there is a different treatment between male and female. So first of all, I want to say that Allah does view women and men equally based on their taqwa. How you fear God or spiritually is equally. But in terms of inheritance, in terms on how you practice Islam, and in in terms of social standings, there are a multitude of difference between men and women, and it's definitely not equality. Look at inheritance, male is more favored than women. You can look at marriage and divorce, the rights that man has is definitely more than women. And look at the practicing. So men doesn't have to wear a headscarf to cover their hair, and women has to cover their hair. Is this equality? No. But in Islam, this is how men and women are treated. It's differently. Secondly, how does feminism view women? So the idea of feminism is a very complicated one. So let me be specific. There are 4 to 3 waves of feminism, depends on which one you believe is the contemporary one. And each wave of feminism fights for different things. And from these 4 waves or 3 waves of feminism, there are branches of other feminisms. So you can say there are liberal feminists, there are moderate feminists, there are eco-feminists, there are cyber feminists. The main goal of feminism is equality between men and women. You want to have same access to education, equal pay, even though some believe that that's a myth, and anything that is male and female, and they believe in certain social construct that it favors male, they want to destroy that. They want to break that barrier and put on equal level playing field. So we understand that when it comes to Islam, it's totally not the same. It's okay if you're a Muslim feminist. It makes sense. That means you're a practicing Muslim or you believe in Islam, but at the same time you have feminist ideology within you. But it's a problem to say that Islamic feminism exists. Why? Because you're essentially looking at the scripture in the lens of feminism. It basically means that you are a feminist, and then when you read the Quran, you interpreted it in the way that feminists would see it. And this is problematic. It's against the spirit of religion. It's against the spirit of Islam for you to look and interpret it the way that you want. You're basically taking the liberty of some other external ideology and insert it into the Quran or the Sunnah, which is totally wrong and you should not do it. And then there are some part of audience or some people believe that, okay, look, Prophet Muhammad SAW fights for women rights, therefore he is a feminist. Just because Prophet Muhammad loves women or has certain value that empowers women doesn't mean it's feminism. It just means that it's Islamic. It's Islamic to uphold women. Like your mother, you should prioritize your mother more than your father, for example. So you don't say that's feminism because it's not even equality to begin with, but you say that it's Islamic. And it doesn't make sense because if you take that logic that Prophet Muhammad did this to women, therefore it's feminism because it favors women or equality, then you can put it into any ideology. You look at any religion, there's peaceful elements towards it. And then you can just take that value, oh look, there's actually Islamic Christianity, or there's actually Islamic Judaism, because apparently they share common similarities, and you put those two ideologies together. Just because there's similarities doesn't mean that it's equivalent to one another. Empowering women can also be Islamic, and it doesn't mean entirely feminism per se. However, just because that you are Muslim doesn't mean that you can't be a feminist at the same time. You can be a Muslim and feminist at the same time, but you cannot have an Islamic scripture and say that it is feminism. It's Islamic.
Thank you, committee. Dear audience, before we start, please be informed to fill in the attendance and feedback from given in the Zoom chat box and YouTube comment section. Now, let's proceed with the most awaited webinar session. This forum will be conducted in English, and we are honored to have two great panelists, Assistant Professor Dr. Hasbullah bin Mohamad and Association Professor Dr. Rafidah Hanim binti Mokhtar, here tonight with us. Without further ado, I will pass the floor to our moderator tonight, Sister Hafizah, to lead the slot. So, Sister Hafizah, the mic is yours.
All right, thank you so much to our beautiful Master of Ceremonies, Sister Alia. Bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ahlan wa salam wa marhaban bikum, and welcome everyone to this exciting forum. I'm Hafizah, your moderator for tonight, inshallah, with the title of Islamic Feminism, Is It Truth or Facade? This forum aims to enlighten the audience on feminism from Islamic perspective. This topic is very, very important to us to know the true definition of Wanita Merdeka based on Islamic teaching. So tonight with two great speakers, we will know the meaning of feminism, impact of the ideology, the Muslim scholars' view on that, and speakers' opinion, and many more, inshallah. But before that, before we move on to the discussion, it's a great pleasure for me to start with introducing to all of you our respected and distinguished panelists for tonight's event, inshallah. So our first panelist is Associate Professor Dr. Rafidah Hanim binti Mokhtar, who is also the President of the International Women's Alliance for Family and Quality Education, WAFIQ. Dr. Rafidah is also the Vice President too of Ikatan Pengamal Perubatan dan Sains Kesihatan Muslim Malaysia, IMEDIC. Being an influential activist, she is also the co-chairperson of Malaysian Alliance of Civil Society Organizations in the UPR process Maksa. Currently, Dr. Rafidah is working as a lecturer of Faculty of Medicine and Health Science at University Science Islam Malaysia, USIM. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Rafidah. How are you?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Everything's okay?
Alhamdulillah. I hope my line is okay lah.
Yes,
Yeah?
I can listen you very clear. Alhamdulillah, I'm glad to know that, inshallah. All right, so the next panelist is a lecturer from International Islamic University Malaysia, IIUM, Assistant Professor Dr. Hasbullah bin Mohamad. He is also an IIUM alumni with the Doctor of Philosophy in Islamic Rival Knowledge and Heritage Usuluddin and Comparative Religion. And Dr. Hasbullah currently is a Deputy Director of Masjid Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah IIUM Kuantan. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Hasbullah. How are you?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Thank you to both panelists for joining us tonight. Okay, so now I will explain the flow for tonight's forum. There will be a total of 4 rounds where different questions will be asked to the panelists for the first 2 rounds. Then both of the panelists will answer the same questions for the third and final round. So this forum will start with Dr. Rafidah as a representative of the activist side and followed by Dr. Hasbullah, a representative of religionist side. Okay, so each of our panelists will be given around 8 to 10 minutes to answer each question. So after the final round, we will have a Q&A session with the audience, inshallah. So for those who would like to ask questions to our panelists, you may stand by to write down your questions in the Zoom chat box or YouTube comment section. So I will just read it for you once we reach the Q&A sessions. And also you may state to whom the question is directed to, okay, inshallah. All right. Brothers and sisters, without further ado, let's move right into the topic. Okay, guys, bismillah. So for the first round, I want to ask Dr. Rafidah. Dr. Rafidah, it is undeniable that the act of defining the terms used is important before any discussion takes place. So I'm sure many of our audience tonight have different perceptions of what feminism could mean. So therefore, as a medical doctor, Dr. Rafidah, who works in the field of women's rights, could you explain to us your views towards feminisms and what about its impact towards Muslim women in Malaysia? Okay, so I welcome Dr. Rafidah. This floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I would like to greet to many of actually my friends, Professor Dr. Samsul Rahman, who have been working with me on many research and also advocacy work, especially when it comes to LGBT issues. And it's also what you call nice to have a chat with 1 or 2 of my friends just now before waiting for the sessions to begin. I would also like to say Assalamualaikum to the Mahallah principals. I was once a fellow of Mahallah when I was working in UIA. I think back in 2000, 2004, 2005. So it is still fresh into my mind, you know, going to your rooms for inspection, you know, as a fellow at that time. And I also know that I think you may have from the Ministry of Women attending this session. So I think there's a good, promotion and a good topic to discuss, okay, on feminism, because it is something that need to be refreshed. First of all, I think the video that you have shown just now, sort of 50% have explained what I should explain. So I was very, tempting to just, go to the second panel because my part has already been answered by the video. But anyway, let us go through about the feminism definition. Now, as in other man-made ideology, the definition of feminism change over time. That sometimes when you talk about feminism, you have to make clear what does it really means and how it, how are you viewing it from your own lens. There are 4 waves of feminism, which is chronologically evolving. Okay, I'm not talking about the type of, there's a liberal feminism, radical feminism. That is actually a whole lot of discussions. I think it may actually be discussed into gender studies faculty, but let us just see from chronological point of view. The first feminism was actually started after the during the industrialism era. Initially even during French Revolution, because at that time even the women has to fight for the rights to buy bread. Previously only men are allowed to buy food for the household, and then the women complain because it's a basic thing, to get bread, food for the family. And then the most structured feminism that spelled out about equality came about in about 1848. Okay, when Elizabeth Cady Stanton in US organized Seneca Falls Convention, and actually drafted first convention about equal rights for women. And at that time, it's more about what they are trying to find the equality from the role of women and suffrage. That means the rights for them to vote for presidentials and in elections. Okay, and it also touches on what religion says about women, to the fact that Elizabeth Cady Stanton wrote the manual and called it the Women's Bible. And in that book written by Elizabeth Cady Stanton, a lot of criticisms is actually directed at how Bibles treat women. Okay, so that is historically. And then come the second wave in about 1960s to 1990s. Okay, this is actually post-war. So the movement is all about anti-war and about civil rights movement, and they are already going into rights of minority. Okay, and there is also development of conservative or right wing versus liberal or left wing, and to some feminists themselves, they were saying that this second wave are more radical. The dominant issues touches on sexuality and reproductive rights. Okay, and much of the movement's energy was the equal rights amendments to the constitution. Okay, and then even during the second wave, it is still about rejecting patriarchy and how women are treated as sex objects. At that time, they even disagree with beauty pageant, okay, because they think that it's sexualizing women. And you will see that after some years, it will be the other way around, where women fight for the rights to have beauty pageants and all. So contradicting with their foremothers, okay, the earlier feminist. And then, but towards the end of this second wave and somewhere overlapping with the third wave, there is also a starting of normative heterosexuality have been criticized. Okay, sex and gender were started to be differentiated. So this came into the work of Prof. Sansol and me when we discuss about what is sex and what is gender. Because during this movement, the feminists have started to question that there is gender, which is social construct. Women should not only be defined by the biological, but they say that they do not want to be described through society social construct. Why do we need to be feminine all the time? Why is our role at the kitchen, for example, So that is what you call the beginning of the the late of second wave feminism. And then we have the third wave feminism in the mid 90s, post-colonial, where we are getting less and less countries being occupied, okay, and post-modern thinking. This is where the movement sort of contradict to the earlier feminists, where they try to liberalize how women look and then how women behave. Yeah. There is also what you call we can actually say that there are many campaigns. Okay, it is possible to have push-up bra and brain at the same times. The taglines are more bold. Okay, and the is step onto the stage as a strong and empowered. Okay, they are not seeing women are not seeing themselves as object of patriarchy, but whatever they choose to do is it permits them to cross gender boundaries. Okay. Most third wavers refuse to identify themselves even as feminists. You may not actually see them declaring that they are feminists, but social studies still group them as feminism. Okay. And then of course the fourth wave, according to what I'm reading, because of the evolution, the fourth wave feminism is still a captivating silhouette. Even the experts of feminism are saying that they are still trying trying to define what is the fourth wave feminism. But what they notice is that, quite to the contrary, many goals of the second feminism were already met. That means there are more women in positions of leadership and higher education, more women in business and politics. They got the abortion rights in many of the countries. They have access to the pill that increase women's controls over their bodies. More expressions and acceptance of human sexuality. That means, even what you call in pornography and all, it is not seen as a kind of exploitation anymore. So the concepts and the needs of the rights of women in the fourth wave feminism, actually something that now evolve into women being the subject of victims. Okay, so we have heard of Me Too movement. Okay, we have heard of what you call a lot of sexual harassment cases being highlighted, and then they need more. We want more and more what you call law targeting it, but there is also what to define, okay, in terms of sexual harassment, because sexual harassment is also a social construct. Okay, in some culture, the act of two person being in touching each other may be acceptable, but for some culture it may not be. Okay, so having said that, I wanted to highlight what the video of ML Studio that you projected just now about the term Islamic feminism. Yeah, I agree that the choice of words we use colored our thinking. Islamic feminism, I think, is something which is cannot jive together in words, because there are two concepts that contradict each other. What you call, many of our scholars say that, reminded us that the words we are using reflect the historical of it. So if feminism developed from a special historical context, that means from the earlier on, because of women in the West have problems when they could not get what you call similar treatments as the men. They have a different kind of patriarchy. I would like to just say that patriarchy is not necessarily bad. Islam also have patriarchal, but in a positive way that we may discuss in another session. But we do have a negative patriarchy in which women feel that they are oppressed, and that's why they rebel. Okay, so because they have a certain historical context, and because they started to detach from the religious views, feminism becomes a belief, an action, a thought. I would use Encyclopedia Britannica in the definition, which says that feminism is a fight for equality between men and women, largely originating from the West. This is actually the dictionary definition. Okay, although we have feminists in Malaysia and in certain parts of the world are saying, no, feminism arises naturally in any culture, which I beg to differ, because we will see later on through historical context, a lot of our women's success are directly contributed due to family dynamic, which is positive. So there are contribution of men in ensuring that the women get equal rights. Okay, that is allowed in Islam. Okay, so I think that is for the first round. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Rafidah, for your answer. So from what Dr. Rafidah said, from the history of feminism, that women start to want to equal right, women start to want to vote the presidents. And I also totally agree that feminism and Islamic term cannot come together because, yes, Islamic is uphold the woman, but doesn't mean that is feminism. All right, so we go to the next session, inshallah. The question for Dr. Hasbullah. All right, what are Islamic scholars' reaction to the feminism ideology? Dr. Hasbullah, I want to ask you, is there such a thing as Islamic feminism? Could you please explain to the audience the reason behind the term Islamic feminism? All right, so tafadhal, Dr. Hasbullah, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Clear?
Yes, very clear,
Okay.
inshallah. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbana iftah bainana wa baina qaumina bil haqq wa anta khairul fatihin. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Okay, thank you very much to Sister Hafizah. Our respected VIP, Prof. Samsul, Deputy Director of IIUM Kuantan Campus, Principals, Dr. Norma, Dr. Intan, fellows, lecturers, organizing committee, student, and also Associate Professor Dr. Rafidah Hanim, Mokhtar, panel for discussion and listening. Okay, Alhamdulillah, as Dr. Rafidah mentioned that when we refer to terms feminism, it changed due to historical event. And I think when we look at what we call as deviated teaching, ajaran sesat, okay, basically for the beginning is okay, like feminism, okay, as in definition, is okay just to they ask for their rights, okay, freedom. But later on, when it grows up, okay, and there is a lot of things added in that, will be sometimes problem later on. Okay, so to respond in terms of terms Islamic feminism or feminism itself, we have to refer to also we have to refer to definition of feminism. Okay. So here I will mention a few definitions from Kamus Dewan. Kamus Dewan. Feminism, okay, fahaman gerakan yang menuntut persamaan antara hak wanita dan lelaki. Maknanya this is early stage. Okay, early stage, just to ask about their rights. Okay, and according to IWDA, International Women's Development Agency, they says that feminism is about all genders having equal rights and opportunities. Okay, it is common. Okay, and another one is Cambridge Dictionary. Feminism is the belief. So this is one thing that we have to question. Okay, belief. Belief actually refer to ideology. Okay, refer to something related to doctrine. That women should be allowed the same right, power, and opportunities as men, and be treated in the same way, or the set of activities intended to achieve this state. So when we refer literally in terms of definition of feminism, that actually parallel with Islam, seems parallel with Islam, because Islam give rights. Islam is religion of adil, give right to those who deserve. Okay, in terms of freedom, in terms of right, in terms of what they deserve as a man and woman. Okay, but when we refer to definition from Cambridge, actually there are a lot of definition. Okay, stated that the belief. Okay, so the belief that women should be allowed the same right. So when we refer to the belief, which is ideology. Okay, so when we refer to ideology, this is actually it is not merely rights, it is not merely freedom, but this is framework. Okay, framework, a very fundamental foundation. Okay, that we stand on that. From that, we build a building. Okay, character, so on and so forth. So when we refer to ideology or belief, what I can say that as for the first glance, definition, it seems okay, but when we refer to the set of belief or ideology, so we have to look at framework of ideology. Okay, doctrine. Okay, there are actually three types of doctrine among people in the world. First, okay, the foundation, very foundation of that doctrine or belief based on revelation. Okay, so this is Islam. Okay, second, revelation meaning that this is the panel, okay, the view, to view something. What is good, what is bad, based on revelation. What Allah has determined good, it is good. What Allah has determined as bad, it is bad. Okay, so this is a framework, very fundamental set, okay, belief of Islam. Okay, so we can see the difference. Okay, second is based on intellect. Okay, al-hasan ma hasanu al-aklu wal qabhu ma qabbahu al-aklu. Good, what is determined by intellect. Bad, what is determined by intellect. Third, okay, third, what we call in terms of ideology, the latest ideology, okay, based on what we call as a design. Okay. For instance, in the era nowadays, we are in the era of postmodernism. Postmodernism meaning that they actually they accept intellect, logic, but when it comes to reality for them, contradictory with the desires, so they will reject intellect and put desires as a framework for them. So briefly, I can say that the emergence of feminism actually in the era of, in terms of the process of evolution in the era of postmodernism. Okay, as Dr. Rafidah mentioned, that before that, we will see the in terms of their rights, okay, exploitation of women, okay, but later on they themselves offer themselves because the view for them based on what we call as a desires, nafsu, okay, as mentioned by Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud mentioned that human, okay, is based on a sexual being, meaning that anything that fulfill our desires, this is good, okay, it is okay. We have to grab this, we have to go for that, okay. So when we refer to set of belief, ideology, that feminism stand, okay, from that framework, so it is, okay, clearly not Islam. Okay, literally maybe parallel with the Islamic teaching, but when we refer to this kind of terms, okay, this is actually a big difference between from Islamic teaching and from feminism ideology, according to people embrace that. Okay, now they like we can see, okay, what happened today. Okay, so this is actually how our scholars actually reject this kind of feminism or ideology because it is contradictory from the main foundation of Islamic teaching. Okay, that we refer to revelation as main references. Okay, anything which come from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala we accept, and as we know that Islam does not contradict with the intellect. So actually, revelation and intellect, okay, come in line together. But when we refer to desires, we can see that later on, okay, a very clear contradiction between this framework from other framework. Okay, so this is actually how, okay, our scholars reject these terms, feminism, because this relate with ideology outside of the Islamic framework. Okay, because Islam is very comprehensive. Okay, no need to mention another term. Islam is actually the term covers everything. Okay, comprehensively. I think that's all. Inshallah, I will continue after this for second round.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Hasbullah, for your answer. Okay, so from what Dr. Hasbullah said, when we go to the definition, literally it is parallel with Islam. But when we go to the ideologies, the beliefs, the meanings that the West bring us, this is very dangerous if we just accept it without we know the true definition of that. All right, so we move to the second round, inshallah. Okay, so this question is for Dr. Rafidah. Okay, Dr. Rafidah, you are the president of Wamec, an NGO that empowers women. Therefore, I would like to ask, what is the real position of women in Islam what are their rights based on the Quran and Sunnah, and how does this correspond or clash to the feminism ideology. So we hope that you could enlighten us on the comparison between the teachings of feminism and Islam. So Dr. Rafidah, this floor is yours, inshallah.
Okay, thank you very much. To answer the questions, I would just like to have a bit of introduction of how WAFIC is formed. WAFIC was formed somewhere in 2018 because 2017 to 2018, because at that time we are preparing reports to Geneva. Every 5 years, Malaysia would be assessed of how our performance in human rights. Okay, so one of the things that I was asked to look into is actually the rights of women in Islam, and especially in Islam, because most of human rights in Malaysia do not actually look into this aspect. No? So, and after that, we started to see how the values of feminism was actually carried to Malaysia, and in certain policies using feminism as a framework, and this is why I think we have to educate everybody on the importance of distinguishing what is Islamic and what is based on feminism, which we may not accept. Having said that, I don't think we totally reject, feminism in every sense. For example, if feminism through the Convention of Elimination Against All Form of Discrimination of Women, CEDAW, if in that convention, the provisions are in line with Sharia, I think we can always accept it. In fact, when we ratify CEDAW, CEDAW has 30 articles. There are only 2 articles that we could not accept because the definition of equality in that 2 articles contradict with our religious position, especially when it comes to family. Okay, for example, in CEDAW, which is based on feminism or equality, they do not accept polygamy. And they also protest on the pronouncement of talaq. They were saying that if a man can divorce by talaq, or using talaq for women, women should also have a right to talaq their husband. Okay, faraid. Okay, and issues on reproductive rights and all. So these are the things why we should actually understand. When we have man-made ideology, they will eventually clash, okay, with each other. But before that, what is the comparison, between feminism and Islam? Yeah? The problem is that in feminism, they are constantly at war with men. That is the problem, because normally while comparing, there are also these deep prejudices against men, as if men we are always under siege simply because we have men living under the same roof. Okay, and then viewing gender roles with deep prejudices. Okay, in Islam we have roles to differentiate the roles. There's a role for mother and there's a role for father, the role for daughter and the role for son, for example. And because in Islam, women are family centered, okay? And we do not view women's emancipation as dividing men and women between arbitrary numbers, 50-50. In everything, there should be 50-50 or equal, okay? And we do not envelope feminism that separates us from our husband and family. Okay, and we are proud as our roles as mothers, wives, homemakers, professionals, and technocrats, and we respect domestic sphere. Okay, and we continue to envelope the progressive world, and by also embracing the religious values without any doubt. Now, this is the problem because I think sometimes I object to the women's rights or feminism brought forth by UN's women. For example, they always come with this statement that women's are continuously being burdened by domestic chores. Okay, the moment that they hear about women and kitchen, the negative things come about. And also there are more and more narratives that are saying children's child care. Women should not be associated with child care so much because that means we are putting a burden on women. A lot of these topics appear on women's rights and women's body in United Nations and all, which I think slowly taking away what is fitrah. I, for example, and I think many of us, for example, are very proud that children are close to us. It's an honor, to have children as our biggest fans. I always tell to all my friends, however, kelam kabut, ada anak kecil apa semua tu kan, but it's an honor to have the children with us, okay, to have them depending on us, okay? And because of that too, things, because I'm from medical background, there is always this argument that says, women's role have changed throughout the years. It's true, because now most women have careers, okay? But to say that inequality means women must also be treated as not being burdened but with childcare, home care and all, I think that perceptions are very harmful. Yeah. Why? We may change over the years. Our mothers have different background. They're not working at all. We are in the environment where now most of us have 2 breadwinners in the home, at home. But the children that are born remain the same. You may have children which were born during the Prophet Rasulullah SAW time, or even earlier than that, okay? But you also have a child born in 2021. This small child, do they differ? The small children, do they differ in needs? No. The children of that era and the children of now having the same yearn for mother's love, having the same need for mother's care and mother's attention. Okay, so these are the things that have not changed, and therefore it is the duty of us women, while trying to adapt into the new era of the world that we are living in. We understood that family, domestic sphere are things that elevate us. Okay, I may be a doctor, I may be a specialist, but to me, having children as an asset. Okay, that they value me so much more than my employers. Okay, so I think these are the mindset that a Muslim woman should differentiate ourselves from the many concepts in feminism. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Rafidah. I agree with Dr. Rafidah. The mind of women not be burdened with the children or chores, that is totally unacceptable. That is actually our responsible and our duty. Hatta it is a fitrah. All right, so we move to the next question with Dr. Hasbullah, inshallah. All right, so next question for Dr. Hasbullah. Dr. Hasbullah, since you teach a subject named Basic Philosophy and Islamic Worldwide at IIUM Kuantan, I'm curious to what is the appropriate response as a Muslim to feminism ideology? How should we approach and deal with it? And I'm also sure that our audience would like to know whether one can be a Muslim and a feminism simultaneously. Okay, so I welcome Dr. Hasbullah. You may answer the question, inshallah.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. The first and foremost is knowledge. We need what we call that capital. Okay, if we want to do a trade, we need capital. Okay, knowledge. As Arabic saying, "Faqidu syai' la yu'ti." We have nothing. How to give to? Okay, how to deal with others? Okay, so in Islam clearly, okay, greatly emphasize on seeking knowledge, having knowledge. Okay, there are three conditions of Muslim. Okay, in terms of knowledge, in terms of point of view. Okay, the way we view something indicates our dealing with that, indicates our attitude, our behavior towards that. Okay, first, some of Muslim view, okay, Islam as very problematic. Okay, that's why they tend to run away from Islam, because they are not happy with that. Okay, because of their knowledge, okay, about Islam. They didn't know about the beautifulness of Islam, Islam as the best solution which come from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Okay. Second group of Muslim, they view Islam as less important. That's why they find Islam only when they have no choice. Okay. For instance, for the death of his father. Okay. So they find Imam. Okay, those who will conduct. Okay, bury the deceased. Okay. After that, there is no connection with Islam, because the view on Islam that Islam is not important. Okay. Third group, they view that Islam is the most important, as if his soul, his life. Okay. So everything they have to refer to Islam first. Okay. What Islam says about this? What Islam show us about this? Okay. So this is actually knowledge. Okay. So we need knowledge about Islam, as we know that Islam is religion of adil. Okay. Instead of feminism, they ask for equality, but Islam offer better than that, the best way, which is adil. What is adil? Adil is putting something in the rightful place. Okay. In terms of man and woman, okay, we know that that Islam treat equally between men and women. Okay, even though they have different tasks or rules, but they will be promised that they will be given with the same reward. Okay, the same reward. Okay, for instance, as mentioned in Quran, in Surah An-Nisa, verse 124, Allah SWT mentioned, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِنَ الصَّالِحَاتِ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ وَلَا يُظْلَمُونَ نَقِيرًا. And whoever does righteous deeds, whether male or female, while being a believer, those will be enter paradise and will not be wrong. Meaning that it doesn't matter, we have different tasks and responsibility, but Allah SWT give what we deserve. Okay, all when we perform our responsibility, we deserve to be in the Jannah. So this is the best way, because Allah SWT creates men and women in different type, in different. There is little bit different in terms of tasks, in terms of capability and so on. Okay. So this is the way that how we have to have knowledge. This is the best way actually. Okay, that's why when non-Muslim try to study about Islam, okay, later on they satisfy and embrace Islam. Second, in the sense of in terms of men and women, in the sense of complement each other. We are complement each other. So this is actually the beautifulness of Islam, and we can see in family the strongest institution in society is family. Okay, so we have to strengthen each other based on what Allah SWT bestowed us in terms of to men and to women. Okay, so this is very clear. Okay, that by having knowledge, we know the beautifulness of Islam, and in the end of the day, we will only refer to the Islamic teaching, because this is the best way to deal with a lot of problems. Okay. Second, the best response is, as we know that in terms of issue related with men and women, this is in terms of feminism. Okay, that Islam does not totally contradict with all of the values. Okay, like the rights of human and tasks and so on. Okay, that's why we don't totally reject, even come from feminist people. Okay, itself as it does not contradict with the Islamic teaching, as previously mentioned. Okay, but we reject when it is transgress the limit or outside of the framework of Islam. That's why, as we study in Islamization, Islamization is first is we have ability to isolate foreign element from Islamic teaching. Okay, so we need knowledge. Okay, we need something what we call filter. Okay, ability to filter that. Okay, first. Second is including feminism. Okay, elements from foreign element, Western element, and its key concept. Okay, key concept as framework. Okay, for instance, they based on secularism. Okay, and dualism, that humanism. So this is a foreign element we have to remove. Okay, and second, we have to infuse Islamic elements to that. That's why. Okay, anything that does not contradict the accept. Okay, because it's actually clearly mentioned already exists in Islam. Okay, so knowledge is the most important part to deal with feminism. Okay, with this kind of ideology, but actually we have to give clear insight to them. Okay, because this kind of people actually they are in ignorance. Okay, they need to get a clear insight about human. Okay, this is the very fundamental questions. Okay, who we are, to answer what is our character. Okay, so in Islam our character is humble. Okay, so humble, just follow. Why? Okay, this is the concept of knowing God. Okay, related what we learn in Aqidah. Okay, in Islamic teaching. Okay, so they are related with the very fundamental basic of human thought. Okay, who we are. Okay, what is our purpose of life. Okay, so by knowing, having this kind of knowledge, we will know God. And we will know what is the best for people, for mankind, in terms of what system. Because in the religion in Islam is system, but according to them, some of them like communists, religion just dogmatic, just like Foster. Okay, they will not use this. They will use another values. According to some, religion is only ritual. Okay, this is clearly different from Islam. Islam religion is the way of life. In every single deed of our amal, okay, come from religion's view, religion's teaching, religion framework. So this kind of knowledge actually able to deal with feminism and to betulkan the concept of human life itself. Okay. Okay, wallahu a'lam.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hasbullah. I really like when you say that feminism asks for equality, but Islam offer more than that, which is adil. Adil is not necessarily equal. Allah knows what these are for, men and women, and we are the abidun. We have to follow what Allah instruction. Okay, inshallah. All right, so brothers and sisters, now we go to the third round, inshallah. So I hope you guys stay with me. For this round and the final round, the same question will be asked to both panelists. We will get to listen to their own perception and thought. So we all could agree. Okay, so I go to the question, all right? Okay, we all agree that without actions, the knowledge acquired will go to waste. To simply put, we need to know the future actions to be taken. So the question is, what are the current issues pertaining feminism and Islam, especially in Malaysia? As an Islamic country, are there any improvements that can be made to cater to this issue from a social and legal approach? So for the first answer, I welcome Dr. Rafidah to answer it first, inshallah.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to actually extend from what Dr. Hasbullah said about Islam offer just or adil in the real sense. I think the Olympic sports that have just finished illustrate the best when initially feminism supports transgenderism to the fact that there is a tagline that says trans women is women. Okay, so until they started to see transgenders and people who may actually are imposters who declare themselves, self-identify themselves as women, and thereby they are transgenders. They started to actually, participate in women's section, in women's sports. Okay, and in the West, in UK and US, there has been fights for safe space for women because transgenders have started to demand that they too can go into the women's changing room. Okay, so we can see here that when there is a clear cut of who men are and who women are, and the definition of women's and gender tangle into these definitions, they finally found that they clashes with each other. Okay, because gender to them is a social construct, and because in a society they can accept trans women as women, finally end up with a situation where women is back being discriminated. Okay, because men are dominating the world of women through transgenderism. Okay, so that is actually one things that we notice. Okay, now the thing, the challenges that we face right now when feminism takes center stage is the changing of definition. What is family? Okay, who is family? I have actually seen the Gender Equality Act document draft. It's actually, gender equality is actually a draft that is proposed by CEDAW to be implemented to be a law, a domestic law. Now, the problem with feminism definition is that they change the definition of family. Okay, so if by our law we define family or marriage is between men and women, there has been actually suggestions that a commitment in between 2%, okay, is already defined as family, which will open up the Pandora of 2% may be same sex, 2% may have commitment but they're not married. Okay, so we disagree with this type of definition of marriage. In Australia, the change of marital law simply by changing words. They used to have marriage is between men and women. They've changed it into marriage is between 2%. So it opened up to same-sex marriages. Okay, so this is under Gender Equality Act. There's also the problem when feminists started to demand about reproductive rights. Okay, and come up with the tagline of "My body, my rights." When in Islam we know that whatever that we what we do and what we have belongs to Allah SWT, and that's why we subscribe or we what do you call subject ourselves to Allah SWT as what do you call hamba Allah, kan? So this is actually concepts that will be challenges. What do you call in how we our relationship with God. I would just like to say to my son. Okay, now the third thing is the concept of marital rape and the concept of what is consent. These are two concepts are actually arising from feminism and gender equality concept. Okay, consent. Okay, there has been what you call a debate on whether the change of concept about women's consent in marriage or even outside marriage. Okay, as Islam, as a Muslims, of course, we know that zina is haram, la taqrabu zina. But the changing definition of consent now is actually trying to say that as long as the women give consent, you should allow. This is their rights. Okay. And when they are also with that concept, it also open up to their rights to get contraceptive pills even when they are not yet married. Their rights to actually abort the children. So these are 2-3 things coined under the rights of women or feminism that contradicts with our Sharia law, and this continuously being debated even in the ministry as at the stage of preparing documents and drafts. Okay, of course, I think many of us are from Islamic background, and also Jakim put a stop to it. And you'll be surprised, even my Christian friends are also with agreement, and they also do not agree on things which is outside of the marital sphere. Okay, now about marital rape. Okay, is there marital rape in Islam? Okay, what is the definition of rape in marriage? In our law, we already have 375 that stated about a husband forcing himself in force and injured the wife. But now Western feminism is bringing this concept that even the wife needs to have consent, the husband needs to have consent for having sexual act. Now we know that there is a hadith from Rasulullah that actually says that women should satisfy the husband whenever the husband needs it. Okay, but the whole elaborations of fiqh and ours, and if you combine other ayatul Quran that says the best man is the one who are best to the wife, the concept of mushawarah in family. So all these taken together means that the wife should not reject husband's request for sex unless in conditions which is harmful to the wife. This is clear in fiqh. But this is where the debates come, and people were trying to say that, you know, there should be consent even in marriage. So I remember what you call one of the women's from feminist group during the radio show, and the host was asking, how do you define yes in a family, in a couple's relationship, and how do wives say yes to the or giving consent? How should husband understand that the wife is already giving consent? So it becomes a very complicated things, because husband and wife have their own way of managing the family without this consent concept, which is actually something a very strange and not from Islamic concept. I think when we have the act of love, I have actually been targeted for, in a few articles, because I say that this the consent in Islam is that when you solemnize the marriage, it's already a form of consent, that you're both husband and wife are having rights upon each other. And physiologically, man and wife has different response when it comes to sexual stimulation, and hence there is this requirement that the wife made herself available, because the husband don't have anyone else to turn to except for the legal wife. And this should be discussed in a loving terms and conditions, and not the way feminism discuss it. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Rafidah. So we go to Dr. Hasbullah. What is your opinion as an Islamic country? Are there any improvements that can be made to cater to this issue from a social and legal approach? This for is your Dr. Hasbullah.
Okay. Recently, there are a lot of issues related to human rights. Okay, human rights issues that closely related with feminism. Particularly in terms of freedom of individual action, such as right of individual, okay, LGBT, transgender, right to, as mentioned by Dr. Rafidah, right of wife to avoid in terms of marital rape, okay, etc. I think all of this, okay, should be prevented, okay, from by power, okay. So by power, because by power through law, something like that, as in Malaysia, Alhamdulillah, okay, we are fortunate to have Islamic government bodies such as JAKIM, Jabatan Agama Islam Negeri, JAINS, MAINS, Majlis Agama Islam Negeri, okay, etc., to take care of the, what we call that, the implementation of Islamic practices, and to prevent, okay, from this thing going to be worse and bad, okay, later on, okay. For instance, sister in Islam, okay, as we know that sister in Islam in the beginning, they actually do a very noble action in terms of to solve problem for women in the court, okay, in the beginning, but later on, okay, go far and far, okay, and as we know today, okay, likewise, what happened in Indonesia, okay, group of feminism in Indonesia, they fight for freedom for women, but as mentioned, one of the speaker, I'm forgot, he mentioned that in Indonesia today, for those who fight for feminism, okay, it is and they will not be recognized unless they fight also for LGBT. So they will become a part of LGBT. So will be considered as a fighter, okay, or volunteers for feminism. So when we did not take any action in terms of authority, so the problem, okay, we know that will be worse, and maybe one day it will influence others, especially for those who know nothing about Islam, okay, and they use sentiment like polygamy, okay, like Farah something, this angle, and that for those who have no knowledge about that, they will say that Islam discriminate women, okay, and bad thing about Islam. So power is important to prevent from all of this. As in Malaysia, alhamdulillah, we have, okay, these agencies, Islamic bodies or Islamic agencies to implement the acts or the law of Islam. Second thing, we also fortunate because we have Sultan as a leader, head of Islam for each state, okay, in Malaysia. So by the rule of rulers, that the practice of Islam or any teaching deviated from Islam can be solved by using the power. And third, the existence of Islam in our constitution. Okay, also this is our advantage to that give a very good impact to Islam, to prevent from deviated teaching, to prevent for anything that contradict from Islamic teaching or from the Islamic framework. Okay, Allah.
Right, thank you, Dr. Rafidah and also Dr. Hasbullah. So authority and even us should play the role to prevent all these harmful sentiment and ideologies that against Islam. All right, so finally, brother and sister, we reached the last round. But before we proceed, please be reminded to fill in the attendance and feedback form given in the Zoom chat box and also YouTube comment section. All right, brother and sisters, our forum tonight focus mainly on feminism. Therefore, I would like to ask both of the finalists, Dr. Hasbullah and also Dr. Rafidah, what do you think are the current challenges faced by the Ummah nowadays in embracing the true sense of merdeka? Could you also tell us on how to protect oneself from modern ideologies that are against the Quran and Sunnah? So for the first answer, I will pass the mic to Dr. Rafidah.
Okay. I think despite the popular slogans that women should liberate themselves, and then in fact I think when I started this fight for women's not being allowed to wear hijab in hotel industries, Wafiq actually worked for a few hotels which women were not allowed to wear hijab. And then we asked for the employers on why you are not allowing your workers to wear hijab. Some of the employers have the impression that, we are actually doing this women's service because we want to liberate them. They are forced to wear hijab. So I have to, bring the ladies and then work with them. And they were saying to their employers, no, we do not have any issues with wearing hijab. We are doing our work fine, and we would like you to appreciate us based on our skills, not the fact that we have to pull away our hijab. Some of them, initially we thought that only those receptionists could not wear hijab because the hotel wants to make the hotel look presentable. Then I would say this is an act of hypocrisy, because you call tourists with abaya and hijab and want their money, but you don't allow your receptionist wearing hijab. But these hotel employers are also not allowing those in kitchen and room services, and spa, the workers in spa. So these are the things that we were saying to them, that continue to educate and make ourselves proud. We're saying that while we wear hijab, there's no problem for us to actually do our job, learn and be educated until the higher tertiary educations, and also manage the family. Okay, and so this is actually something that the challenges where our liberation should be defined as to be free from foreign ideologies, and we should be able to observe how complicated things are when they are following the man-made laws. Okay, with regards to LGBT issues, with regards to now women's being suppressed back because of transgender and all. Finally, I would like just to say that it doesn't mean that when we do not accept feminism as our framework, we do not fight for women. No, a lot of women I found fight for other women, but they are not doing that based on feminism. It's actually they know that this is the right of fellow women, and we're fighting for them. The problem is that a feminist group, okay, like Sisters in Islam and a few others, are prominent in newspaper and in social media. And that's why I would like to say to all of our students, don't judge by what is apparent in the media. I have seen a group of women in Kedah, remote area, Pendang or Kuala Nerang. But what were they doing? They were helping their fellow women who have problem in marriage and divorces by simply arranging for taxi to get them to the Sharia court. Similar things that sis are doing. But because they're not in media, people thought that, we need to be grateful for feminism because they are the one who bring women to where we are now. There are so many women who are doing this, but they are not subscribing to feminism. Second, they are doing this with the help of other men. Okay. Now, I would also like students to actually go to the history. In Malaysian context, let's look at a lot of our historical figures. Ibu Zain, for example, she's a very known one of the earlier female leaders who actually build a few schools, especially for women, because it's very difficult for women to go to school because of this perception that women should not go to school, the traditional belief. But her father is an ustaz who understood the teaching of Islam. So he enrolled Ibu Zain into an English school so that she can get well educated just like the rest of the boys at that time. And Ibu Zain then later on established lots of schools at her eras. And please do not hijack her effort as a form of feminism. This is where we should think that even now, some of us are fighting for the rights of other women, but we do not base on our activism on feminism context. We're doing it because we know that's the right thing to do for Muslim women. Okay, so don't let feminism hijack the good work that has been laid upon us by the foundation of Islam. Do not use their historical context, and do not use the terms that they are using. And I would like to end up my speech today when Mohamad Khalid Baik, the author of First Thing First, and he was saying that our choice of words miscolored our thinking. So when we talk about the words that belongs to feminism or women's empowerment context, okay, it has a lot to do with the background of what they were doing. The similar thing about comprehensive sexual education. Although the words is innocent, but the philosophical of it comes from International Planned Parenthood Foundation, which is actually the draft was jointly drafted by the founder of Playboy magazine, where they changed sex education from abstinence to you can have sex, but please have safe sex. And therefore, we will provide you oral contraceptive pill. These are how you may not get pregnant. So what do you call the difference, between what Islamic fights for women's rights and feminism, okay, is that like between day and night. Make sure we understand our religion well, the rights that has been given to us as women, as Muslimah well, and do not fall into the trap of feminism. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Rafidah. So what about you, Dr. Hasbullah? What is the challenge in embracing the true sense of Merdeka, and also tell us on how to protect ourselves from modern ideologies that are against from Al-Quran and Sunnah?
Okay, among the challenges that we have realized that related with feminism, that feminism movement is actually served for what we call as woman liberation from Islam, from the bond of Islam. They want to liberate women from to go far away from Islamic practices, Islamic teaching, because one of the target for crusaders, as I read from Islamic Talk textbook, that Orientalists or missionary, among the tools to make Muslim or to distract Muslim is to distract the role of Muslimah women. Okay, because they realize that the dignity of Muslimah as a mother, as a wife. Okay, as a, maybe I can say, okay, as a factory of the development of civilization of the ummah. Okay, and this is very, very important. Okay, as a pillars for family. So when they distract the women, so all will collapse. Okay, so in the era of after the era of Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi, they realized that they cannot attack Muslim directly. Okay, so they comes with what we call as a serangan pemikiran. Okay, so by using this serangan pemikiran to brainwash our thought, our thinking, okay, they tend to make Muslim to commit apostasy, or if cannot, okay, that Muslim will against Islam themselves, and okay, at least Islam know nothing about Islam, ignorant. So when Muslim in the state of ignorance, okay, they will easily to be influenced by propaganda from the West and so on. Okay, so this is our challenges. This is to distract Muslim women through ignorance, kejahilan. Second, that global movement of liberation today, under the name of human rights, okay, and a lot of terms they use has affected some Muslims, especially that Muslim only in the name, okay, not practicing Muslim, and ignorant, okay, about Islam, so easily to be influenced by them. And third, this is fitnah akhir zaman, okay, because we are the era of Qiyamah. Okay, a lot of problems will occur, and this is mehnah akhir zaman we have to face. yang kita kena hadapi lah. So as what we have to do, so we have to come back to Islam, strengthen our akidah and knowledge, and we have to create a good environment, okay, among us, bi'ah salihah, and lastly we have to attach ourselves with the our strength, which is Quran and Sunnah. As mentioned in hadith, taraktu fikum amrayni lan tadillu ba'di ma in tamassaktum bihima kitaballah wa sunnati. Okay, I leave it to you, two things you will go never astray after this, which is kitabullah and sunnah, my sunnah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, wallahu a'lam.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Rafidah, and also Dr. Hasbullah for the answer and the sharing to us. So, brothers and sisters, please just not accept any information out there without tabayun, without we ask to people that master on that issue. All right, so brothers and sisters, now we have already finished all the 4 rounds, alhamdulillah. So let's move to the Q&A session. So for those who have any question, and we already have some question here, okay, just put in the chat box, or you also can just turn on your microphone and just ask to us, inshallah. Okay, so all right. So the first question from Nick Hasni. Nick Hasni want to ask Dr. Hasbullah, as mentioned earlier, feminism involves and the movement or ideology change over time. Perhaps feminism could formulate some set of criteria for exploring issues of women in other cultures, including Islamic societies, not necessarily limited to Malaysia context. What you say, Dr. Hasbullah?
Jawab terus ni.
Oh, yes, can.
Can you repeat?
As mentioned earlier, feminism involves and the movement or ideology change over time. Perhaps feminism could formulate some set of criteria for exploring issues of women in other culture, including Islamic societies. What say you? This statement, yeah.
Okay, as I mentioned that framework of feminism, okay, is actually based on their own interpretation. Okay, as we have discussed earlier, once they reject this, okay, and later on they accept, okay, because this is actually based on their own interpretation. Okay, so as human, we always change. Okay, always change from time to time. Okay, today this is good. Okay, maybe tomorrow another thing. Okay, we look and it's better. So as compared to Islam, there is in terms of characteristic, there is we have what we call as a permanent. Okay, that Allah has been determined, like salah, okay, which is permanent, and there is something what we call as flexible. Okay, flexible depend on our situation. Okay, maybe when we perform salah on vehicle umpamanya, okay, so there is some rukhsah we are able to implement because of some restriction to go up, okay, to stand up. So okay, this is in Islam we're very clear about it. But when we refer to human always changes. Okay, that the needs always changes, the goal always changes. Okay, therefore that movement we can see that that always changes, and sometimes it goes quite extreme, okay, for certain situation because of they think, okay, this is the way that they will achieve the goal or target for them for a group of feminism. Okay, so we can see that in Islam, okay, and feminism sometimes go parallel, sometimes contradictory because of limitation of human and because of the wisdom, okay, the all-knowing of revelation Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hasbullah, for the answer and your opinion. Okay, so so the next question to Dr. Rafidah. You can answer this question in about 3 minutes, all right? So the concept of substantive equality as one of the means to empower women and eliminates all kind of discriminations, be it direct or indirect discrimination. So what is your opinion on this, Dr. Rafidah?
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, I would like to touch on the first question as well. Whether feminism can actually be a tool in other countries, not necessarily Malaysia. That's why I think depending on the definition, if someone from India told me that she's a feminist and that she's fighting for literacy, another one come from Afghanistan and said that I'm fighting for the banning of honor killing, which is quite prevalent in Afghanistan and Pakistan, you know, culturally. Okay, this is a bad patriarchy where men would just, you know, murder the daughter because they are considered as shameful to the family because of the extreme punishment. Okay, I would accept that if that is the feminism means in their country. But as I said, when this feminism, which initially was towards what you call banning all these un-Islamic things, then they come and offer a new meaning that liberate women, which is alien from Islam, and this is where the border is. Okay, so it as a tool is okay, but it should not be an absolute tools for us in Malaysia. Now, this is why I think the changing of terms. First, you talk about equality, and there is substantive equality, which means that the woman can have a maternity leave, although it is on the feminism platform. The woman can enjoy certain other things like what you call things which men may not enjoy lah. Okay, so they call it substantive equality, but what we call is equity. We have been calling equity for a long time, which means it's equitable. That you give rights differently for men and women because they are of different physiological and biological functions. Okay, so and this is also the problem when the first definition of feminism is equality. There is also we discuss about equality of opportunity and equality of outcome. They what you call there have been a paradox, in inequality, because, for example, there have been a denial on feminism part about engineering, which naturally would have more men than women. So in a few countries, they try to make this equal by making it 50-50. And it's not fair for other men who actually like engineering because the the numbers have been cut, to make sure that women get the space there. But it turns out that the outcome is still not the same. So equal opportunity under this equality may not come out as equal outcome. Hence, in certain things, we should not dwell much into this substantive equality, in my opinion. Similarly, when this COVID-19 is we're dealing with COVID-19, there has been issue in UN Women who are saying that we need to have equality of men and women in hospitals. Now, this is something which as a doctor, we never ever dwell on gender equality in medicine services, because you need the right specialist and the gender does not matter. So if even in medicine, people were still saying that, okay, I want equal number of men and women, make sure they are equal. It's not about opportunity. Equal opportunity is given, but the outcome is still different because medicine is a very challenging field. And in certain field, you just couldn't have enough women in that field because it's very challenging. Okay, so substantive equality to me may be terms that one need to elaborate more. And similar, when we talk about consent, we also now come up with a lot of terms, enthusiastic consent, affirmative consent, reversible consent, and all, which come out all from this feminism discipline. And hence, I think why not we revert back to have a framework of our own, very culturally Malaysian and Islamic, to dwell and to deal with many of women's issues.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Rafidah, for the answer. I guess we have one question from Abid Yunus. Because he said here, I have some question as well. So you are allowed to open your mic and just ask the panel, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you. Moderator, boleh dengar?
Yes, boleh dengar.
Okay. So first, I would like to congratulate the committee for organizing this program, and I also like to say a huge thanks to our panels today, Prof. Rafidah and also Ustaz Hasbullah. So before I ask my question, I would like to make some premises to make my point more clear lah. So basically, before that, I just want to mention that I think with regards to feminism, I think we have we have to put some blame on the men as well, because we cannot say that feminism ni excuse me if I use rojak language. So feminism ni macam it's not entirely woman's fault, because it has to do with the men not playing their role as to the best they could. So I think when it comes to feminism, I think the burning question that people always ask is about women and career. And I would like to also point out specifically about career. Career is career bukan work, because career and work are two different things. A career means it's a continuous process. Work me, and I also would like to differentiate between a women who are desperately required to work, and also women who have the option to work and have the option to work or not work. Maksudnya dia tak in desperate need to work. So when it comes to career, what we currently see now is that because you mentioned how feminism is not just an attack on the woman as an individual, but it's also an attack on the family institution. So currently we see how there's there is some sort of macam pertentangan antara choosing between a career or family for a woman, especially for women. So it's a hard time for the woman. So people say it's hard to find this sort of work-life balance. So you can either be, especially for the woman, you can either be a working person or you are a housewife and you have to take care of the kids, because they will make the point that if the women are required to work, then these kids will be have to send to the taska, kindergarten, and then they will not receive the full attention from the mothers. So and then also with regard to feminism, because feminism is they pushing the woman to pursue the career over the family. So sadly we see that some women, they decide to pursue their career, and because they have been dijual dengan terma financial stability ni. So semua perempuan nak kejar all this financial stability before they get into the marriage, because adalah some reason behind it, sebab takut suami nanti meninggal ke, suami hilang kerja, suami tinggalkan. So there is some some reasons behind it. Tapi in a perfect, kalau in a perfect working wali system, sepatutnya woman ni all the time they are provided for. Kalau ayah kalau suami meninggal, bapa kandung akan take over, and then bapa atuk dan sebagainya lah. So the question that I have is sebab I think is for guys like it's hard to decide macam do I want my wife to work? Because if my wife work, then she might not have the best time for the kids, but if I don't allow her to work, then we might not be able to live a comfortable life, say like that. And then for the woman, they also want to take care of the kids, but also at the same time, macam sebab yang saya mention tadi lah, takut kalau suami meninggal, suami hilang kerja. So where do we find the balance, and how do we, and what advice would you give to people who are struggling with this problem? Thank you. I hope my question is clear.
Thank you, Yunus. So you want to pass the question to Dr. Hasbullah or Dr. Rafidah?
Maybe Dr. Rafidah.
Okay. What was the question actually? How do you choose?
Very long the statement.
Macam mana nak cari balance tu antara macam
okay.
career,
Balance.
family.
Career. Okay, thank you very much. I think that's very good. I suppose you are not married, but you already think of your future wife career in that sense. Of course, I think I come from medicine. And then, of course, I think one of the things that I defended was actually the right for women to work, because for medical, we need to provide female doctors attending to female patients, right? And then, of course, these issues came up a lot for my students, for my juniors, for my own batches when we were, unfortunately, you will soon. For my batches and all, how do we deal with it? I had actually, endure feeling deficit of myself, because I had to work, I had to do on calls, and then there are my children, they have been taken care of by others, okay, by mother-in-laws, and then later on by sending to childcare center. I think what has not been properly shown, okay, is how the good men has been accommodating us, the busy women. What has always come into the discussion or been highlighted in media are the bad men. They have been highlighted by dulu kita ada in newspaper dedicated into siapa yang sebaya dengan saya, Ustaz Hasbullah maybe ingat di celah-celah kehidupan. There was utusan Malaysia ke Mingguan Malaysia, all the bad things about marriages. So the good men were not actually shown in the media. Nobody wants to know about how good that man is. So when in actual case, a family which is built on what you call understand of the needs, and then musyawarah among them, we would have men who would know how to help wife, when they go home, and then they share their what you call chores, kan. Tak adalah balik-balik tu buka newspaper and then biar isteri start tukar pampers apa semua. I admit that in the beginning we do have cultural what you call values when people do not listen enough to the sirah of Rasulullah SAW. So at that time, the values was passed from grandparents or parents to the children, that men are not allowed to, sidai kain, basuh beras, apa semua kan. But I think towards now, we heard and we have been listening to how the Prophet SAW did, and on how he treated the wives, and there's so many hadith on women being discussed that enlighten us about the rights of women as well. Okay, so when you discuss about some of these cases which are tackled by certain groups of feminists or feminism, I too do not deny that they have the credit, but to actually say that every success of women in Malaysia owed or we need to be dependent on them is also not true. Okay, because our policy of education, okay, since 1957, the what you call women in Malaysia has been allowed to vote since 1957. You'll be surprised. I've been to Geneva 3 times, and I just found out that Switzerland allowed their women to vote in 1973. Portugal, who actually jajah kita, only allow their women to vote in 1974. Okay, these are the 2 Western countries. And in maternity leave, in certain countries in the West, they still have poor maternity leave as compared to us. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that what is our problem is whenever there is abusive men around, whenever there's failed marriages around, the blame is put on Islam per se, and this is where sometimes we trying to educate everybody. The cases is actually due to perhaps people who do not understand Islam in the first place, and that's and culturally thought that some things are only done by women and not men. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Rafidah, for your answer. So maybe we can have one last question from the audience, but make sure your question is simple because we are running out. The time is running out. Okay, so I open for the last question. Maybe if not, I can pass to the MC. So I guess there is no questions. So from Abid's question is the last question for tonight, inshallah. Okay, so Alhamdulillah, we gained a lot tonight from this forum. So thank you so much, Dr. Rafidah and Dr. Rafidah and also Dr. Hasbullah for your sharing, for your knowledge, for your insight regarding the topic. And Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. All right, so so we can generally understand that these various foreign ideologies, particularly those from the West, may infiltrate the minds of Muslims through many means. These ideologies can be corrosive to our faith, so we need to go back to fitrah, which is Islam, and Islam is the answer to all problems prevail in our current, like Dr. Hasbullah said before. Okay, so I think that's all from me. So Assalamualaikum and thank you. So now I will pass now the floor back to our MC for the closing session, inshallah.
Thank you very much, moderator and speakers, for the full and such inspiring session just now. Dear audience, as the saying goes, sharing is caring. We would like to encourage you to share the input you gain from this webinar on social media with hashtag Wamec 2021 as shown in the slide. Let's give back to the Ummah. To all participants, please ensure that you have filled in the attendance and feedback form given in the Zoom chat box and YouTube comment section. We appreciate your help in evaluating this program. Before we end, let's have a photography session together. Everyone is highly encouraged to turn on your camera. I will now pass this session to the committee in charge to lead the photography session. Please welcome.
Assalamualaikum. Can everyone hear my voice?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So I will take a picture. 10 seconds. So everyone get ready. All right. I will picture. Right. 1, 3. Right now, wait. All right, thank you everyone.
Thank you for showing off your brightest smile. On behalf of the
Pass to the moderator.
Yeah.
On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to apologize for any inconvenience and shortcomings throughout this event. We hope all participants could gain valuable insight and knowledge and thus become a better servant to him. Inshallah. Thank you for your participate and stay tuned for our next sub-program. Do join the Care to Share public speaking contest and Kitchen Warrior cooking video competition, which will start tomorrow on 15 August. There are a great cash prizes awaiting you. Let us end this event with Tasbih Kafarah and Surah Al-Asr. That's all for today. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you everyone and have a good rest.
Thank you very much to the organizer. Thank you.
Okay.